Welcome to Deep Deck. Gonna have a creative conversation.
Hello, welcome to Tape Deck. This is a podcast where I, artist-writer Declan Shalvey, have a creative conversation, namely with a past or present collaborator in comics. My collabro this episode is Andrea Broccardo. Andrea is an Italian comic book artist that lives and works in Italy and works for publishers such as Marvel, DC, and Image Comics. Broccardo has worked at Marvel since 2015 on a lot of different titles, including the Star Wars main series, Dr. APHRA, and Star Wars The High Republic, written by Kevin Scott. He also worked with Image Comics on his first creator-owned series, Deep Beyond, with Mirka Andolfo, David Goy, and Barbara Nocenzo. His most recent work with Marvel is on Giant Size Hulk with Philip Kennedy Johnson, and before that on the new Alien series written by one Declan Shalvey and published by Marvel with 20th Century Studio. He lives in Italy with his girlfriend, a cat, a dog, and some red fishes. Andrea, welcome to Tape Deck.
Hi, hello to everyone, and thanks for inviting me to your tape deck. Man, the opening is very badass. I love it.
It's best to really jolt people at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was,
first of all, let me say sorry, a big sorry to our followers for my terrible English. I'll do my best.
No,
to speak.
You always apologize for your English, but it's fantastic. It's better than mine. So don't worry. Thanks for coming on. I since I kind of booted up Tape Deck again, I was looking forward to doing this because you and me worked we were really closely together for a good solid year doing Alien together, and it was a big big project for me, and I know it was a really big project for you.
Absolutely,
I think I didn't realize. I remember when we were put together, I looked up some of your stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's kind of good. And, because everything, it was superhero stuff I'd seen. So it was hard for me to imagine, you on Alien. But then I found out afterwards you were a massive Alien fan, and you'd been campaigning to get on the book for ages. So I was like, oh, right. Okay. Clearly he knows what he's doing.
I like just a little bit the Alien franchise. Consider
how many,
that.
I can't see behind you, but you have a lot of Alien figures as well, don't you? I remember you were showing me.
Not behind me, but in front of me, because my table desk is an L. I have the screen in front of me, and I have the figures, the comics, and the other stuff in just in front of me. If you want to see, I can turn the camera, but I don't know if the case. Maybe it's better.
We'll play it safe in case they attack you. But so I'll get into all your other stuff first. But I am curious. What was it like getting that offer to do Alien? Because like I was saying, it was the thing you really, really wanted to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Consider that before to start to work with Marvel, I was used to create a portfolio to show to the US publisher, and one of the main publisher that I would love to work with was Dark Horse, just to work on Star Wars titles and Alien titles. And I was bouncing back for many years, I suppose, because my style my drawing style is totally different, pretty different with the drawing style that we saw in the comics, in Alien comics and the Star Wars comics from 10, 15 years ago. I have a style that is more anime and manga influenced, so I use a lot of kinetic lines, a lot of different stuff took from the Asian books and manga. And at the time, Dark Horse didn't work too much with the drawing style. But after started to work with Marvel, I had the opportunity to work on both the franchise and Alien. Consider that the first Alien movie is in my top 10 of favorite movie of all time. I think that I can put the first Alien movie by Ridley Scott and at the first place in my personal top 10 of the movie. I'm a collector. I read all of the comic books that was released by Dark Horse. I'm a collector, and I was looking for first printing. I just bought a couple of months ago a CGC from the first issue by Mark Nelson, and I'm super, super happy for that. I'm a collector of figures, of comics, t-shirt. So consider that when we are reached out, I was reached out, sorry, by Sarah Brunstad, our totally awesome editor for the project, to jump on board this title. For me was a dream come true. Consider that was a suffered dream, because at the moment I was working with Kevin Scott on the Star Wars High Republic series. So at the moment I was contacted by Sarah Reiki Purdin, that is my editor in Marvel, and they asked me if I was interested to jump on a new ongoing series of Alien with you at the script. But I had to leave from Star Wars in that day, during that day, at the moment, right now. So it was suffered because I loved the Kevin Scott High Republic, but I love Alien. So it was a suffered choice, but let me say that it was Alien.
Well, yeah. What made you? What was the clincher there for you? Because you were on a good book. Like the High Republic is a good, big high
not
profile book.
not
But
only for the selling, because it's a top selling book, but because work with Kevin, it was amazing. Kevin is a very, very good writer, and I love their script. I worked on basically a complete story arc with Arion Edito at the art. We share the true story arc. So jump on Alien was a pain, but was a dream come true. So
was it? But what was it? Was it? It was a tough decision, but like, what was? So I guess I'm asking from like a freelancer artist point of view, because what people don't really appreciate sometimes is you can have a really good job, and then you get offered another good job, and they're both really good, and you have to figure out what's best for you. Because I remember when I was working on Venom, I was offered Deadpool, and I was like, no, because I liked working on Venom. I was happy on that. And I was like, I didn't really like Deadpool, so I'm like, no, I'm fine. And I've told this story before. Ultimately, I agreed to do Deadpool, but I didn't know that Venom was cancelled. So I worked, but my choice was to stay on the book, and I think it worked out better for me to do Deadpool. But you don't know, you could be on something really good, and you don't know what's better for you, and you have to kind of weigh the options. So for you, was it Alien? Was it just that it was like, this is finally your chance to do Alien? And would it have been different if it was a different writer? Because you said you like working with Cavan, so working with a good writer is good too. You want to keep that going if you can. What were the things that made you decide?
I had to decide with my heart. I have to be honest. Basically, when I started to work with the Marvel, I was very, very lucky, because I every time worked on characters that I love. I think that to be on a top-selling comic book series, it has a responsibility. So I was super lucky to work not on top-selling books, because I had more freedom to work on the art of the book, on the panels, with choice, talking with the writers and with the editors about choice. On the art and on the story too. So it was basically a choice for a nerd fact. So I had to choose between Star Wars that I love and Alien. Pardon. I have to choose between Star Wars that I like and Alien that I love. So
Sure,
I chosen what I love.
But you'd also worked on Star Wars for a while as well, so
Yeah.
it's not like you just started and you were taken off, and you had done a chunk of Star Wars work at that time anyway.
Star Wars was my first assignment in Marvel. Consider that,
Oh wow!
I did the 12 issues issue of the last issue of Kanan, the Last Padawan.
Okay,
Before me, that was only a small artist. Maybe you know Pepe Larraz. That was
never heard of him.
I think that he could work in the comic book industry because I think that is very very talented. So
Yeah,
it was
true.
a
But
responsibility.
it's weird. It's weird with Pepe because I remember years ago I was working with the colorist who was coloring Pepe. I was like on Journey into Mystery. I remember seeing his
Oh,
work, going, "Oh my god, this guy's incredible!"
it's
But
incredible.
nobody.
It's
I'm not going
incredible.
to say nobody knew who he was, but he wasn't very well known. And then you cut to a few years later, and like, I mean, he's probably the quintessential superhero artist
Yeah,
of
yeah, of this
now. Like at
generation,
Marvel, definitely
in
now.
my opinion, is the best artist of this generation. Maybe 10,
Hey,
15 years.
well,
One of the best. I know that there's a Declan that is good too.
of course. I
So,
know you're right. Just he's so like technically storytelling. Like no, he's it's amazing how like the right artist on the right book can just click in a way.
yeah.
And I'd count you on Alien with that too, because like seeing your work on Alien was so different from everything else I had seen.
No, thank you.
I'm not going to say it was like a different artist. It was just I don't know. I do think there's something to be said for like you said, if you love a character, what you can bring to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like you
absolutely.
bring an energy and an enthusiasm, and it's totally behind the scenes. But like if you can come to a project like that, I think it really, from an artist's point of view, it really can just level you up.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. I tried
Well, also
to do
there
my
was
best. So sorry.
no. I'm sorry. I don't. I mean, sorry. There's a tiny lag, so I don't mean to interrupt. So you were saying I don't want to.
I was talking about Pepe, my first assignment on Star Wars, and as a Star Wars fan, consider that I had to work on the last issue of a comic book series based on a TV show, a cartoon TV show that at the moment I was looking on TV broadcast here in Italy. So it was, and there was episode 7 next to be released a couple of months ago after I started to work on the book. So it was magic, something like magic. After that, I work on a lot of X titles, on X-Men, Marauders, but basically I worked a lot on licensed products like Star Wars and Alien with you.
Was Alien a different? What was it work? What was it like working on that licensed project as opposed to Star? Because I mean, I was part of the process and I saw like you got a good few notes on like specific things to the degree where when I was drawing my section in Descendant, I
Yeah.
knew what not to like. I knew what not to write because I'd seen how they had gotten you to change, this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna write the story so that I don't have to draw those things. But um, how was the process different from working on a Fox license? Sorry, not it was a 20th Century license as opposed to the Lucasfilm stuff. Was the process different?
With Lucasfilm was a bit harder because they pay a lot of attention of a lot of details, and I had to draw every single thing that was present inside a page that was really really close to the cinematographic. Uh, how could I say? Sorry, this is one of the moments with my English sucks.
It's fine.
I had to draw exactly like the movies, exactly like the TV show, exactly like
Sure.
the likenesses of the character. On Alien, basically, the only issue, if we could say, was on the Xenomorph because it's the main character of the series. but about the backgrounds, the ambient, the characters, no one told us to make a change except for some minor notes on the tubes on the back of the xenomorph, the dome, the jaws of the xenomorph. So working on Alien was a bit easier than Star Wars. Star Wars was a bit difficult to draw when you work on the ongoing series with the character of the movies. So you have to draw Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and every single character is not easy to nail the first time with the first sketch. And Lucasfilm took a bit more time to answer with notes. So it happens that sometimes notes came when I had to start to work on inks. So it was a bit tricky to make the change, to make the adjustments. But consider that it's Star Wars, and the franchise has a huge fandom that love this character. And we have a responsibility, I think, with the readers. So we have to give to them our best. So it has a sense that we have to draw really, really close to the movies.
Well, I'm just remembering as you're talking about the Notes and 20th, it felt to me it was the tubes on the back, they'd always point out. The amount of ribs. I remember that a lot of times you'd get notes under how many ribs there were. There was something else. So yeah, I remember when I was drawing my section in the second story, I made a point of making sure I got the ribs right and making sure I got the tubes. But I think I had a note on the teeth. I drew the wrong amount of teeth or something. And I had another note about the hands that they were because I found getting reference quite tough myself. Any kind of movie stuff would be so dark you couldn't really see the details. I didn't have the figures like you did, so I was trying to source a lot of stuff from the internet, but also there's different versions of the xenomorphs from the different films, so you had to know which one you were doing. So it was, even though it was only one character really, it was still, I still found it kind of tough. Well, so actually I found the best reference was your artwork. I go back and look at your inks.
My best
that was
reference for the book was the NECA figures. I have to be honest. I had behind me. I don't know if you can see the here alien. The packaging of NECA figures, and here in the black library. There's a xenomorph, more or less higher like the like that. So I had with me this huge xenomorph for all the year that I spent on the pages, just to see the tubes around the mouth, how the dome reflected the light. I used, for example, lights to see how the black turn when lights hit a specific part of the head of the xenomorph. Wasn't easy, but was pretty stimulating. I was drawing the best for my life, so I had to give my best. I was a bit. Sorry.
Go on. Look, I was just going to say that I had one note in one of my pages. I kind of drew the skull inside. I had the light hit the dome, so you could kind of see the skull. But they asked me to take that out. I think they're a bit. I don't know exactly. They seem to kind of not want to show the skull, maybe, I don't know.
In the first movie, the costume of the xenomorph, it's supposed to show the skull inside the dome, but the lights and the photography of the movies in the final cut didn't show it. I don't know why, but I was in, I don't know, is... the name of the place in UK, but in English. But I was in Switzerland at the Giger Museum, and they have the original costume of the xenomorph. Here in Italy, near where I live, there's in Turin, there's very, very cool museum of cinema, and they have another costume of the xenomorph. Both of them show the skull inside. But the lights of the ambient, I don't know, maybe in the first movie, because the first movie, it's very, very dark, with a lot of fog, with a lot of steam, and you don't see too much the xenomorph in the first movie. The skull was disappeared. It wasn't possible to see.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling it might have been a licensing thing because specifically the alien you, I like how I'm going like, well, when I drew the alien, I drew like 20 pages. You did like 100. You know, I got this. It could be, and I'm just guessing that it could be that the license is specific to that version of the xenomorph, and therefore you can't show. But again, I'm just guessing. I know things can kind of go that way, but or where's it going to go with that? So as regards to xenomorph, but I have to say, like, I was always marveled a bit, like how good you were to do the notes and stuff like that. I'd always cringe whenever I saw those art notes because I'm like, oh, that's going to be a pain to change. But you were always just like you're such a pro every time. Like I have to commend you. I've gotten very particular these days, and you were so I couldn't get over how you're really, really productive as well. Like you'd be getting a page in every single day, like bang, 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 bang. Like
more or less, yes. I'm trying to do it. I'm used to have a sort of office hour, so I started to work at the early morning. At 7:30, I was at the desk to start to work until 8:30 at the evening, with a stop for lunch, a stop for dog, play with cat, and take a bit of relax. During our work, the first issues was we had more time to work on the issues, so it was a bit easier. The 4-5 issue of the series was a bit tricky because I had to rush a bit, so I worked at the night for some of the issue 4 of THAW and all of issue 5, and for Descendants, for the last issue, I had to work on the night. But working on night is not common to me. I don't like too much, but work on a horror series on night is... I don't know. I was more concentrated on the focus on the pages. There wasn't phone that ring. There wasn't people that talking. Everyone asleep around me, so I was focused on the pages.
Yeah, no, I tend to work more nights because during the day is when everyone's getting on to you about this, that, and the other, and when you're especially on the writing front, you have to deal with like lettering notes pop in out of nowhere and what. So any kind of like progress with drawing gets interrupted a lot. So I find it's really the nighttime when I have more time to just sit down and ink. I've got a comment here from Crew Expendable saying the xenomorphs in your Alien book looks fantastic. So
thank you so much. Thank you.
I think that was it. I know we were definitely worried about. I know I was worried about Alien fans at the start because I know a lot and I know how passionate they are. Like one friend of mine specifically said, like, don't fuck it up. I was like, oh, crap.
I always worried by the fans because I am a fan of the comics that I draw too. But I think that everyone is a fan in its own way. So maybe there are fans of the first 2 movies, there are fans of the entire franchise, there are the fans of Prometheus and Covenant. So it wasn't easy in your case, write, in my case, to draw, in your case, to draw too, something that was okay for everyone. But I hope that our work was cool for the most part of our readers and fans.
Well, I will say, like, so I had the same experience with them. Alien, like getting it in at the end was tough, but like it always happens. At the beginning of a project, there's all the time in the world, but then as you get closer and closer,
Yeah,
like
totally.
the deadlines for issue 5 aren't going to move, and there was a little bit of a creative kind of jump around because I knew we would have 10 issues, and you were definitely the artist for the first arc, but then there was concern as regards like what the schedule will be for the second arc. So that's why we had the annual that Danny Earls drew, and then
Who
that
did
gave
a
us
great
time.
work.
So oh yeah, he did. He's fine. He did fine. He's getting too much credit these days. But I so that was so we knew we needed there just wasn't enough time to have you do all of the 4 issues on Descendant. And I remember Sarah had asked if I could do the annual, but I couldn't because I was doing my last issue of Old Dog at the time. But then when we realized we could do it somebody to help out on the last arc, and I knew I had a backstory for Dayton from issue 1. I was like
Yeah.
the story of like how he lost his arm basically. I'm like, I thought it'd be cool, but it doesn't. I'm not sure if I can just put it in out of nowhere. But then when I knew we'd need a backup story, basically, instead of doing backup stories, I tried to like weave in that flashback, and I realized I could draw 20 pages. I could do that, and I could color them too. And I liked the idea of keeping the creative team behind the book, just us. Danny came in, which was great, but I didn't want to. I liked the idea of it just still being you and me, even though I was drawing some of it. It wasn't like a third. I didn't want another artist, ideally. So I'm really happy with just the whole arc overall, just because what you brought to the first one and then the way everything worked out. It just like I could have blown up on our faces, but I'm just really, really happy with it. But I don't know.
So I
It's easy for me to be happy because like, crap, Danny's Danny's watching. Danny says, "Enjoyed this
ah,
chat with me."
I don't
Well,
need.
Danny, I know if you just tuned in, Andrea complimented you, and I countered the compliment the other way around. But how do you feel about it in retrospect? Because like it's something you really wanted to do, and it was a hard year of drawing. Like that book is not easy, man. All the backgrounds, the xenomorphs, like and I think I even tried. No, that was it. I said to Danny that I tried making things easy for him by writing a lot of snow, but he still went in and did lots of like detailed backgrounds anyway. But I always remember thinking that like maybe the snow would help you out because you were drawing ships and interiors and corridors and guns and so like so much in there. I don't know how you did it, to be honest.
I don't know too. I had to be honest. Working on a licensed title, it helps about to find the reference material. So, for example, for the first story arc, most of the corridors, most of the main kitchen area was from the first Alien movie. Basically, when Zasha, her mom, and Batia and the other character are having their dinner is the kitchen room of the Nostromo of the first movie. I took a lot of backgrounds from Alien Isolation. I'm a video game player too, and Alien Isolation is a first-person adventure horror shooter. Is basically in first person. So you can took I took a lot of snapshot of the corridors of the ambient, and I used as reference to work on the pages. I don't like, as we talked on Instagram, the copy and paste. So I
Sure.
redraw some of these backgrounds because I took exactly like they was on the screen. Wasn't useful. They need to be adapted for the character that I had to move inside the corridors, inside the rooms. But basically, I used Alien Isolation as a reference and the first 2 movies. That's it. Some most of the technology was unused, the reference from Deep Beyond the series. So I worked for 12 issues on a sci-fi series called Deep Beyond with Mir Gandolfo, David Goy, and Barbara Rosenzo, as you mentioned
Yeah,
before.
I have some of it here actually.
Yes,
Because that was it. It was when because I did look at your work that Sarah sent me, the Star Wars stuff, but I was more curious to look at your image series, and once I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, this guy could totally draw. I saw like, yeah, this guy can absolutely draw Alien. Like it was all like
Yeah,
space
it's
suits
a
and
lot. There's a lot of alien influencing in Deep Beyond, but was one of the first reference that Mirka and David told me to take a look for draw the background, the mood of the story. A lot of material that was unused on Deep Beyond found a second life inside the Alien book. I used a lot of corridors, a lot of poses that maybe I draw in early sketches that and it was unused. Oh, the entire series, trivia, the entire series of Deep Beyond was drawn only by pencils and colored in digital. I
oh
used
really?
the blue pens. These are pencil, not
It's raw
digital.
pencils. Oh, interesting. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, I didn't
not
realize
digital
that.
pencils, but
Oh, bloody hell.
blue pencils and plastic
Yeah,
pencils.
I can kind of see some blue in there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, bloody hell, man.
Because basically we haven't too much time to work on the inks too. Because as you mentioned, the deadline at the beginning of the series was so distant from us. But issue after issues, the deadline, like the presence of It Follows. I don't know if you see It Follows is an horror movie with the presence that follow a girl. And
Okay, I know of it. I haven't seen it.
this presence, it's never stop. It wants you, it follows you, it grab you, and it kill you. So the deadline is like
Sounds like deadlines. Yeah.
it follows. And at the same time, consider that I was working on my first DC assignment on Wonder Woman, Agent of Peace, and on I don't remember if it was X-Men Curse of the Man Thing with Steve Orlando at the script, because we started to work on Deep Beyond during the COVID lockdown.
Okay.
Marvel stopped me to work on the series because a lot of other artists was stopped for a moment, so I had to use this time free that I have. So we decided to do a creator-owned story that
Great.
was took apart from some years ago, and we started to work on Deep Beyond. In the meantime, the world start again to roll in the right way. So the work with Marvel starts again. I was contacted by the DC, so I had two assignments after 8 months that I wasn't blocked and stopped. So I had to stop a bit Deep Beyond, but wasn't easy because we had to close every single deadlines. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. So I had to
But I
work
think
on
it's good though
pencil.
that you use the time, that you were stuck during the lockdown to actually just make something,
Yeah.
and it happens sometimes to someone in their career where they get a bit stalled, and I think it's always better if you've nothing to do to make something to do, because
Yeah,
I think Deep
I
Beyond
agree.
is a great audition for Alien. I mean, I don't know, I'm not saying you wouldn't have gotten the gig otherwise, but I think it, like, for me it definitely helped. Not that I had a say in you were being hired or not, but when I looked at Deep Beyond, that's where I'm like, oh, okay, right, totally, I can see this now, because the other work was so different. But yeah, I think there's a lesson there for any artist who's stuck between work. If you can make something for yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I make a lot of commission during these days and started to work on this creator on the series. I have a couple of ideas for another couple of creator-owned series, but at the moment I haven't the time to work on them. So maybe in the future.
So we have coming by Jay Nesmith. So Deep Beyond was my
Oh,
introduction
thank
to Andrea,
you,
and that
thank
series is
you,
wonderful.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's nice. It's not often you hear that. Like it's the passion project isn't generally the thing that people find you. It's the big license, the big studio stuff.
Well,
But
consider that a lot of people didn't know who I am because I'm not so big as artist. I am in the middle. There are the huge artists, the not so huge artists. I think that I am in the middle, so I'm not so popular. And it helps a lot to have a book with a superstar like Mirka Andolfo, that is a close friend of mine since 10 years. I suppose we live really close with Mirka and his husband Davide. We started to talk about this idea many years ago, and it helps a lot to have the Mirka at the writer of the series after Sweet Paprika, after Unnatural, and her series that are top selling. And a lot of people know my work after Deep Beyond. So I had to be grateful for that for the rest of my life, because I had an improvement of work after Deep Beyond. I had to be honest. After close the last issue of Deep Beyond, I never had 1 month free from work, and 2 years has passed from my last issues of Deep Beyond. I'm so lucky for that. I have to be honest. I'm super lucky for that.
No, what I mean, like saying you're kind of, how did you put it, in the middle, a middle artist? I forget how you phrase it. Like, I mean, I think most of us are that, because like they're starting out and then there's A-list top guys and they're on either edge of drinking the screen here, either edge here. And then in the middle, there's everyone else. And we're all on a level of this middle ground. Like, I think it definitely, if you can work with someone like Mirka, of course, because really well known creator, and I think any artist basically builds their name off the back of a writer who's bigger. That was my strategy for as much as I could plan to do it. When I was at Marvel, from like Jeff Parker to say Brian Wood and Jerry Dug, like you're kind of piggybacking off the work of a writer who's more known, which is great. You try and take whatever kind of spotlight you can. But I do think being on a book like Alien, I think is, well, you got to do issue 1 of Alien. I think that always helps. Doing issue 1 of a book really, really helps career-wise. And also staying on a book for a while. Because when I was starting at Marvel, it was a lot of double shipping books. There was no miniseries. So it was tough to get in and do an issue 1 of anything, because everything was like legacy books. Now there's so many miniseries, it's a lot easier to get an issue 1. But also, if you're doing a flagship book, which Alien kind of was, it was the Alien book, and being on it for a while, I mean, I don't know. Do you think you're more well known after Alien, or do you think it's the same?
I suppose that I beat more than before, because
Good.
For example, at the convention, a lot of people come and ask for Alien commission. Before that, basically, I draw Star Wars commission. So I added Alien and X characters to my commission list. Or for example, I had a lot of more. I'm not so I'm not so social on my social media. I don't like too much social, but I know that I had to be social, and during these days is useful to spread my works and to be known by the most of my audience. But before that, I don't have too much interaction or tags on pages like Crew Expendables, Aliens versus Predator Galaxy, for example, or Alien Universe. After that, I had a lot of tag, and it happens that some of these pages of these Instagram or X pages share my work and open discussion about what we did on the series. So it's great. For me, it's great. I had the opportunity to work on 2 big story arc, and I hope that but I think yes. I hope that it was useful to be more known by comic book readers.
Yeah, I think so. I think it helps. I think if, when I was on Venom or when I was on Thunderbolts, I think it seemed to me that to be on a book for a period of time where readers can find you and associate you with something, because it's tough with something like Star Wars, like say Star Wars or X-Men or whatever else. The rotation of artists is quite high, so like I got lucky with Moon Knight. People will associate me with that character for ages, and Deadpool, I was lucky there too. But like you could, if you're moved from project to project all the time, I feel that like readers don't get the time to like put you with a character. But I do think conventions are a good way to test how you're seen, because like you said, I think when I did Luca last year when we got to meet, that was the first time I got asked to do a lot of xenomorphs for sketches. I'm like, I'm not drawing the book. Like I didn't know how to draw. I drew a xenomorph once for a cover. Like I didn't understand, there's a difference between drawing something for a cover where you draw what you need and then drawing the actual book where you need to understand how all of the musculature and anatomy. So I was like, I had to learn how to draw a xenomorph head at that convention. But I noticed, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm associated with this now in a way that I'm associated with this and this and this. I think, it's really, really helpful for an artist, especially, to have something where it's, they're not just going like, oh, draw whatever. They're like, oh no, I love you on this book and I'd love to have you draw a xenomorph for me, because they know you from it.
And drawing your character, the main character, for issue after issue after issue, help to improve in quick and to take confidence with the character. And for example, at the third 4 issue of the first story arc, basically I didn't use too much reference from the figures or from the pictures for the xenomorph, because it was inside my pencils, was inside my pens. So it was more easier to do than this first page that we saw now. That was a bit tricky because it was the first time that I draw a xenomorph paid by someone and not just for fun. And there was a lot of xenomorph to draw. So it wasn't easy at all, but after a lot of issue, I took confidence with the character, so it was more easier. The same with Zasha, with Batia, with the other characters. It was easier to nail the shape of the faces, the body language that they have. At the beginning was a sort of test. You didn't know how much you have to draw the acting of these characters, how this character will respond when the fear with the treat will arrive. So usually I think of the characters like real people. So I try to imagine how these people could react to the challenge that the story will put in front of them. I don't know if it has a sense, or if it's crazy or not, but Zasha is a teenager. How could react a teenager in front of a 2 meters monster, black with 2 jaws and a lot of claws? How she react with her mom that is close to birth his newborn brother. So it's I try. It's not easy, but I try to imagine how the character feel the feelings, the reaction of in front of the challenge.
Well, I think that's where your cartooning came in really nicely, because you're really good at drawing like technically challenging things like the ship, the bulkheads, the corridors. Like you're really, really good at like just technical drawing. But I think maybe your manga influence is what made like a lot of your character reactions so kind of the acting so good there. You know, I know there was some like people criticizing like the manga faces or whatever, but I think I think the strength of your cartooning balanced with what could be very what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not Italian and I can't think of a word. Satisfactory drawings. You could just draw technical things and they look fine, but like, you know, it's storytelling and you need characters to really emote. And I think, you know, you have two really good strengths there, and the book really suited it for that reason. I did want to ask one question, because the first issue was 30 pages and basically there's no xenomorphs really.
Yeah.
Did that really annoy you?
No, absolutely no. No.
Okay.
You asked this before when we
Okay, I
worked
wasn't sure.
on the first
Wasn't
issue.
sure.
I don't know if you remember, but in the email thread, you asked, "Is a problem because there aren't xenomorphs inside of this issue, and maybe it could be frustrating." No, because there was a lot of alien architecture inside. There was a lot of corridors to draw, and I love to draw backgrounds. I worked for Italian publisher before to start to work for the US publisher. Here in Italy, we have the most important Italian publisher was Sergio Bonelli editor. Sergio Bonelli has a good tradition, a long tradition of comic made in a classic way. So consider every single panel should have the background. Every single background should be solid with we saw in the background on the last page, and it will be exactly like the backgrounds that we will show in the next page. So working in this way, I suppose that was frustrating a bit at the beginning, but useful to know how insert the character inside the background. So at the beginning of my career, I hated to draw background. I wanted to draw characters. I want to draw the poses. I was influenced by the comic book, the US comics from the 90s. So Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Mark Silvestri, that was huge for me. So consider The Darkness, Witchblade, The Spawn, Savage Dragon. I love Eric Larson too. So there wasn't too much background in the story, but was a lot of pin-ups. We can or splash pages with these beautiful characters. So you have to draw a mashup between these two things. So when I have to start to work on Alien, I thought. No, you told me with Sarah that the mood of the book wasn't different between the classic superhero comic that Marvel was used to do. So the editors wanted something that was really close to the Dark Horse material, more independent comic, different than huge major like Marvel comic. So I jump back in my career and I thought, what if I used a lot of backgrounds, because Alien is not only the monster, the xenomorph, is not only the pulse rifles, the soldiers, the movement tracker. Alien is the ship, is the corridor, is the backgrounds, is
Even
another character.
in the two films, I mean, you don't see the xenomorph for ages. In the first one, it's I can't
Yeah, yeah.
remember. There's a certain, but like that, for me,
Less
like
than 10 minutes.
I don't like licensed books that look like generic versions of the original thing, if you know what
Yeah.
I mean. And what I really like about the Dark Horse stuff specifically was a lot of mood. You had so many different art styles doing so many different things. There was more of a kind of an indie feel to it, and I'm not having a go at the Marvel stuff. It was just that like I think it would have been very easy to do a Marvel looking book, like a superhero looking book with
Mm.
aliens in it, and I didn't want to do that. I definitely wanted the mood of it to fit. I like licensed books to feel like the things that they're made from originally. So that was definitely in my mind. I'm like, I want to do something a little bit more, a bit more gravelly, a bit more gritty, um, and and also like the one thing there's so many things you can't do in horror comics that you can't. Some things that in horror films that you can't do in comics, but I knew the thing you could do in comics is pacing and dread and build up that mood. So my feel was establish those characters because we're going to need to care about them for the rest of the miniseries. And what you did so well was the amount of world building in the art. I mean, I wrote stuff, but like again, the attention to detail of the backgrounds and how they were actually, they were specific to the world we've already seen. You did so much heavy lifting in the world building with that, which was amazing. But I also thought about if I was drawing this book, I'm like, I gotta show the xenomorphs at some stage. There can't be no xenomorphs at all. So that's why I wrote that kind of like dreamy page at the beginning that I have on the screen at the moment, where you see the xenomorph in the ice, and then we have this splash page of the xenomorph. Because I knew if I was drawing this book, I want to draw, I want to draw some bloody xenomorphs. So this was my way of like giving you something to kind of really chew your teeth into, like as an Alien fan, where you actually get to draw them, even though most of the issue you don't at all. So that was. I think it was the benefit. I mean, I'm not sure if a writer would think of this. I'm sure many would, but I think there was a benefit of me being a writer artist that like, if I was drawing this, I need this just to kind of keep me going while I get through all the hard stuff, all the world building, all the character stuff. So what I'm saying is basically, I hope you appreciate that I was thinking of you when I was writing the script, of like what you'd want to do. You don't want to draw an Alien book and never get to draw an Alien, but there's two different masters you're serving there, like trying to tell a compelling story, but also a good visual story too. So I hope I didn't like because I hope I didn't drive you mad.
You did a great work, man. So no worry about that. And
Okay, cut. Well, you did tell me that you afterwards. You told me you were worried at the start because I write and draw. You were concerned about working with a writer artist. Do you remember why that was?
oh no.
Yeah, you told me. I'm trying to remember exactly. You said that I think you were worried that I'd be very overbearing. Because that was a surprise to me. I thought you'd be happy to work with somebody who knows how to draw, but you told me you were worried initially because you thought maybe I might be very particular.
Okay. We talked about that a lot of time ago, and I didn't remember. Yeah, at the beginning I was a bit worried because consider that if the project that you start working on is based on your favorite movie with a lot of audience, it's a sort of achievement in your career. I feel a lot of pressure starting to work on this title, but not because you or Sarah give me some pressure on me. It was on all by myself. So
Okay.
I started to work thinking I had to do my best. Every single comics that I did before this series, it sucks. I have to do my best. I have to see these pages from 10, 12, 20 years and see, Andrea, you did a great work on these pages. Obviously, it doesn't work. So looking back at this page, I want to change most of them. But I'm basically pretty happy for the final result. I'm never happy for the final result of the page, but it's better to have deadlines so I can close the issues.
They never get done otherwise.
Yeah. It's never get done.
We get a question here. Michael Falzarano said, Andrea, I love all the Easter eggs. Drinking Bird, my favorite. Did either of you have other plans for the stillborn that we saw in Thaw? Well, I can answer that question, but if you want to get to the Easter eggs, you put a lot in there.
Yeah, I usually love to fill Easter egg inside my pages. I did it on Star Wars 2, but with Alien was a sort of buffet of Easter eggs. So some of them wasn't possible. For example, the blue ball, the blue bouncing ball. I don't know if you remember.
I do, yeah.
Strange toys. I didn't know that was under copyright, so I have to remove from the final pages. But in the first Alien movie, there was these bouncing toys that we saw for, I suppose, a single shot during a shot. But never mind. I love to put Easter eggs. For example, the number of the Boreas ship was the release date of the first Alien movie here in Italy. I drawn the save point from Alien Isolation. That was the phone cabin that you can see inside the base, the drinking birds. I put a little paper near the Batia working station with that work written on it, call Sigson. Sigson was the android factory in Alien Isolation.
Okay.
There aren't.
It was more Alien Isolation references you got in there. I think because copyright wise that was okay.
Absolutely,
I think that's
absolutely. Yeah. Because Alien Isolation is in a continuity with the franchise, with the main franchise. Yeah. I put, I don't remember, maybe, if I'm not wrong.
There was one reference. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. I don't remember.
There's one reference to Project Alpha in Batch's notes, which was that was a reference to the previous Marvel series. Because even though we got to do our own thing, really, I did want to at least acknowledge that like it was in the greater Marvel Alien books. I do know you wanted Jun. He has a baseball cap, and you were asking if you could put a Spider-Man logo on his baseball cap, but that got shut down. There's a few things here and there where
the world of Alien is very, very a bad place because they haven't a Spider-Man in Alien
and
universe.
That's why it's so horrible. Yeah, it's a direct tie. That's why it's so horrible. But I can't think of any more.
They are doing Avengers versus Aliens. It sucks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Maybe you could have done Avengers instead. That would have. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Was there any more reference? I mean, it was all mainly you adding stuff in the art. I think that I only had that one writing note. But as regards to Stillborn, like it's kind of tough because there was a lot of things that got shot down in pitching. Like I think, like I would have pitched something and then you get notes back and you have to change the pitch and get notes back. So I think there would have been plans to do more. And also I didn't know, like I said, when we were offered Alien, we knew we'd have 10 issues basically, but we didn't know we'd have any more than that. So as I was writing the first volume and I got to pitch the second volume story, I realized we could tie them both together, and instead of doing two completely separate arcs, we could do two story arcs that were one overall story. Which in retrospect now I'm glad, because it feels like what we did is more. It's not two different stories in two different worlds. It's actually a longer, bigger epic. I'm quite happy about that. And that we got to do things with characters we established in the first volume and paid it off in the second volume. So I'm really glad about that. But you don't exactly know it's going to go that way as you're writing it, because some stuff gets shut down and other stuff kind of develops as you're writing it. So originally, it wouldn't have been stillborn. That baby would have been a hybrid. Was my original idea, and that it would escape the planet, and then maybe we do something ideally down the line in volume 3 or 4 or what have you. In the end, I'm kind of glad that didn't work out, because we didn't get to do volume 3. So I would have felt really bad if the story was left hanging like that. But 20th were very particular about some things. I don't get into it too much. Like, it wasn't a big deal or anything. It was just they're very protective of the franchise, and they were okay with us doing hybrids, but I think human hybrids was a no-no. I get to feel that was what I kind of got. So ultimately, I'd written it so that Batya was pregnant, but while I was planning that the child would probably survive, that couldn't happen, so it had to be stillborn. But in the end, I think we got a really messed up, really creepy, horrible sequence out of it. So it kind of worked out okay. I'm not like, if only we could have gotten to do that. It's sometimes the doors that close in your face, there's like a solution on the door that just closed, and you go, oh, okay, you can do that instead. So in the end, we had that really creepy, like, alien parasite coming out at the same time the stillborn thing happened. So we ended up getting a very cool, horrible, terrifying scene out of it. But that was a result of something else I had tried that got shut down. So it's a very long way of answering your question, but essentially I would have liked to have done something else, but before I could really develop that idea, it got shut down. So that just kind of closed that door, if that makes any sense, Michael. But So I did want to show more of your work here, Andrea, because you sent me some inks, but I wanted to track down your pencils, because your pencils are really, really detailed. Would you spend more time penciling than inking, do you think?
Basically, yes. Consider that this was the first page when we saw the alien. So I put more details than much more details than the detail that usually I put on pencils, just to show how. Yeah, for example, these are more rogue pencils than the xenomorph that you see before. But in my work, during my time work, was most on pencil. Maybe more or less, I took 1 day, 2 days. It happens to make pencils, but in inks, I'm pretty fast. I don't know why, because. Most of people maybe is faster in the pencil step, and after that move forward and more faster in the inks process. But for me, it's different. I'm a bit slow with pencils, but fast with inks. I can ink a couple of pages in 1 day, but draw maybe one single pencil's page in 1 day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm about I can pencil 2 pages a day and ink 2 pages a day, but the penciling is after a lot of work on layouts and light boxing and stuff. So it's not like I'm sitting down and I'm drawing 2 pages a day. I do a lot of prep first, end up penciling 2 pages a day, and then inks. I can basically do all the line work, but then I'll have to come back and like do all the black spotting and do the washing. So it's I'm probably like just less than a page a day, roughly. But if that's everything, if everything's going smoothly, but So I just want to show more of your inks here. Like I'm looking at this background you have here that we were talking about earlier, the dinner table, and like I'm just cringing just thinking how much work that would be for me to draw, like working out all the perspective and the angles of the screens, and the.
I have to be honest. For me, it was funny. I did a technical study. Maybe it happens in the development of these kind of backgrounds. I have to say that they are very complex, not easy at all to do. And the first panel is basically a readapted backgrounds that I took from the first Alien movie. So I adjusted it a bit just to show this character and move them inside this background, but wasn't easy at all. I have to admit, but it's funny.
I drew a medical bay in one scene in Descendant, and it was basically a mix of the medical bay from the first Alien film and a scene from Isolation. I don't know. I played Alien Isolation once, and it scared the living fuck out of me. So I was like, no, thank you. But there's a lot of like screen caps online of locations and things like that, because I did want to, you took so much time to like really make all that work authentic. I tried doing the same in the scenes I got to draw. I didn't draw a lot, but I tried to be as authentic as I could, because you really showed how it was done. I'm trying to see. Here's the inks. Yeah, like it's just people who don't draw comics like don't realize how this is actually this is most of drawing comics. It's people sitting down, looking natural on a chair with a background, like drawing cups and. Knowing that in the next panel they need to be all in the same spot in the next page, all that stuff. Like I drew something the other day, and it's somebody in an office.
Yeah,
and there's a computer.
There are 4 or 5 weeks of work, and the reader took 10 minutes, 15 minutes to read the book.
Even notice it, but actually, I do remember loving. The drawing of the food coming out of the bowl there. I remember just thinking that was fantastic. I know you think you'd be like, look, the alien looks amazing, but there's little things like that. The detail of the food in the bowl is what really gets me. But as well, I remember like this was a big moment in the first issue, and you just nailed it. Like I keep thinking, because it's when you draw as well, you think I have an image of what that would look like in my mind. And this is so much better than what was in my head. Like the level of detail and that is believable in that world. And no, man, it's amazing what you did here.
Sorry?
It's amazing. So I was saying what you did here is amazing.
I lost you for a moment. You was freezing for a moment.
Oh, I was just saying that like when you're drawing stuff, when you write stuff and you also draw, you think of how things are going to look like in your mind, and you're writing them, and you have an idea of it. And then when this spread came back, it was so much better than anything I could have done.
Thank you so much.
I think I've got the inks here as well. It's just fantastic.
The ink, and this is the USC SS Boreas. The number was the number of the Alien release date here.
Okay, so what was it? What was the 25th? Oh, I see. Right, 1979. Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember. I forgot. I remember you told me at the time. I forgot.
Yeah.
Well, we were even playing with the idea of doing patches for the ship as well at one stage, if you remember.
I don't remember.
I found we were talking before the book came out. Said, "Oh, it'd be cool if we could make patches like the Nostromo one," but for the board, we were just chatting on Instagram. We didn't actually do it. But,
we chatted about the second story arc when Boreas was on the seabed and was on its side. And there was an error that I did, and no one noticed it. That was really funny. That I had the spot on a review online, reading a review, someone correctly written, but if the Boreas was on its side, why people inside the Boreas walk correctly like the gravity inside the ship? When I read the review, I thought, yeah, you're correct. You're right. It was an
Yeah,
error. Sorry.
that
Sorry,
happens.
it was
I
a
mean,
mistake.
when I wrote it in my mind, it wasn't on its side. So when you
Yeah,
drew it
yeah.
on its side, it looked really cool, and I didn't think about it because it looked cool. So
But
I
it's
didn't think to
not your
like.
fault. It's my fault. I had
No, well,
to thought about
I
it.
should have spotted it. I should have spotted. I mean, that's stuff slides through.
But
What can you do? You
Jack,
know.
we are in the
Um,
future. We are inside the sci-fi comics. There are artificial gravity inside the ship. The system of the ship was already active, so
exactly.
it worked. You are the
Yeah.
writer. Between
Yeah,
us,
I do
you are the
remember one
writer.
stage. I think I was something for the when we were writing this hybrids. 20th were very specific about the gestation and how it worked, and I remember just kind of thinking like, lads, we're talking about space monsters here. Like, like, do we really? You know, they have acid blood. I mean, I think we can like we don't need to be so particular. But no, they were very. I had to come up with a whole. Even though it's not necessarily on the page, I had to explain how the whole gestation thing worked. They
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
particular, which isn't a bad thing either. I always remember being so amused with like where the level of violence was. Like I remember like the pregnancy, the scene where the pregnancy
Yeah.
happens. I said to you to try maybe do it in shadow, um, to get around notes. And I think you didn't draw that much shadow, and then they did end up having notes. And the reason I had written it like that was because I knew they were probably going to be more squeamish about, you know, the pregnancy aspect
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than
yeah.
the other stuff, which was, I mean, it's very violent in places, and that's never a
Yeah.
problem. But there's some things where you have to kind of like dance around it, even though like actual violence to humans is fine. But yeah, some things are weird.
It was a weird scene. I have to be honest. It was my first birth.
Yeah.
Yeah, never draw a bird before this one, but it was a bit tricky to show and don't show too much because
Yeah.
we had a baby. We had Zasha that was a young adult, not was a teenager.
Mm.
So we had on the right. It was strange because I shared this page, double page today on Instagram, and I thought back about the left on the page wasn't a problem at all with an alien that crushed the chest of the poor. I don't remember the name of the soldier and
Mm.
exit from the chest. On the right, the opposite of another kind of bird. And the more adjustment that I had to do was on the right with the classic bird because there was in my first version much more blood. I showed too much that wasn't the most intelligent idea I had to suppose, but I would to try to show much more, and I was happy that Sarah and 20th Century didn't ask for too much adjustment on this page. I was afraid, I was worried that they asked for more changes. We had basically a woman with open legs ready to birth a baby with a teenager that hide the most incriminating part of
Yeah.
her body. So it was like a play on fire. But I was happy. I'm very happy that 20th Century and the editors didn't ask for, like I say, too much changes, except for the blood and except for to show a bit more. You know that Triona in color hide a bit some
Yeah.
parts with the fog and the steam. The base was under fire, so it was
Yeah,
perfect.
I think
Like
I knew. I mean, when I was writing it, I figured they may not let us do this, but at the same time, I think with the the clear themes of birth and motherhood, and that are baked into the franchise, I felt like it would be it works. But I was like, it's one thing to write it, but it's another thing to show it. So I do remember specific. I think this happened a few times. I would suggest a silhouette to you, but you would just draw the whole thing. And so I remember when it came in, I was like, I don't know if they'll. But we worked around it anyway. I do think, to be fair to Marvel, there's a specific type of violence they don't like, or they'll step around. I remember once I drew Wolverine had chopped somebody's head off, and I had drawn stuff coming from the head, and that was a note. They said, like, could you, I think they're fine with the head and blood, but if you show the actual wound, that's an issue.
Yeah.
So I think you draw enough stuff at Marvel, you get a good sense of like what's going to work and not work. So I'm just seeing that Danny at the company said, what a shot, that ship is incredible. I took a look at Andrea's issues the day before I started on my issue, and I almost didn't want to start mine. It was nerve-wracking.
Don't say that, Danny. Don't say that. Your pages are amazing.
To be fair, he just had like two. He had to draw a ship once, and then the inside of the ship on 2 pages, and then after that it was just snow. So he was fine. You actually had all the hard work. So mind him. I'm really having a go at Danny these days. I have another comment from Estanislao Vizcara saying, nice to see the faces behind this series. I like your work with Alien a lot. I hope to see you again in a new miniseries in the future. And the faces are basically glasses with big foreheads.
Yeah,
and facial hair. We kind of look very
hair.
similar, actually.
Thank you, Stanislao. Thank you very much. Let's hope in the future to jump back on something on Alien franchise. I'm totally open if Marvel asks to jump back to draw Alien or Predator, or maybe I would love Alien versus Predator. It will be great for me.
That was it. I even mentioned it because I'm friendly with Ed Brisson, who writes Predator, and I was saying to him, I was like, we should totally pitch a Alien versus Predator, but I don't know. I'm not really sure what Marvel are doing with Alien right now, because I don't think there is a series since ours. I know they're doing Avengers versus Alien, but there isn't like an Alien book. Like, it's not like our book got replaced by another one. There just isn't another one for the moment. Maybe they're giving it a bit more time. But I'd have loved to, because like I said, I was prepared that we'd have to stop at 10, but I was hoping that we'd get to do more, because I just really liked writing that kind of stuff, And I know you had ideas too, but like I had to pitch stuff before you came on board, so that stuff was locked in. And I feel like had we stayed on, you could have pitched stuff that we could have worked out together, But what are you going to do? Like I'm quite happy I got to do what we do, and we have the two books. I have the first one here. Really happy with it. But it turned out great. I love it. But I did want to show. I don't want to stay on too much longer, but I did want to show something that was cool. Was, well, one, you got to design an alien of your own with the support. But you got to do a cover, and again, like I said, I was glad I got to do some art on Descendant. What was cool about this is we actually kind of got to work together on this, because you did the inks and then I did the colors afterwards, and that was, I haven't colored a lot of other artists, and that was really, really fun. Like, I got to really, like, you do some really nice grey wash work on the cover that clearly you don't have time to do on
and the final result is incredible. Is really, really cool.
Oh, well, you can see, I don't know if you can't really see, but like there's really nice washes on the ribs there, and a lot of kind of more tonal work on all those coils, and the texture on the submorph. Like, it came out great, and it was as far as like a licensed book goes, we got to be really creative on it. In a way that I wouldn't have expected, Like I said, I liked that I got to hop in and support you on the second arc, and I got to color you on this. It's just I have to credits. Sarah was really, really great. I think that like the book could have been a lot harder if it was a different editor. I think she like flagged stuff that could be a problem, or she'd solve problems before they became problems, or she kind of might know what would be a problem, or she would. She was, for me, from a writing point of view, she gave me really nice notes. Like, if something was a problem, it was a problem, but she also would like compliment some parts. Like, I really loved working with Sarah. That's kind of one thing I miss about the book was Sarah was so great to work with.
I'm glad for the final result of this cover. And consider fun facts. I don't know if I told you. Last December was a guest of Tokyo Comic Con, and there are a service inside the convention that print whatever you want on a T-shirt. I did a T-shirt with our cover. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. It was totally for
why not?
free. You had to subscript, I don't remember, to the website, and I have a cover. I share with you the pics on Instagram after the finish of our live stream. It was strange. There are this cover with the Tokyo Comic Con after that.
Okay, that's nice.
Under the DD art.
What I meant to ask is because when last time I was in Italy, the Alien Thaw was going to be it was about to be printed in Italian, and I knew that they do like a hardcover. Have you seen those editions yet? Oh, I really want one. Next time I'm at an Italian show, I'm going to have to track it down. I really want. That hardcover.
They had Panini for the who is the Italian publisher for Marvel and DC stuff. Used in the last year to print the hardcover edition of the US TP. So basically, we haven't a TP. We have a lot of hardcover. Then it means a bit of increase of the price of the book. But the final result is a hardcover TP with a glossy cover, really beautiful to touch.
The Italian versions of books are so lovely. Like the paper quality is different and the hardcover. So I'm super happy with this. I'm dead proud of it. But I can't lie. I'd love to have the hardcover. But
I'm dreaming for an omnibus from Marvel with our 2 story arc. It will be great.
I'd love that. I'd say it's going to take a long time for that to happen, but I would love it. I mean, I don't know. Have they? I don't think they've done that with Philip and Salvador Larroca's stuff. Have they?
There aren't at the moment. There isn't omnibus of the new series. The new, not so new because 4 years has passed. But when Disney pick up the rights for the Alien and Predator books, they only did the omnibus with the old stuff from Dark Horse,
right.
but not the new stuff.
Well, look, man, I don't want to keep it too much longer, but I do want to ask, like, what are you working on since? I know what you're working on since, and I'm annoyed because both you and Danny have been working on Hulk with Philip Kennedy Johnson. So, as far as I'm concerned, he has stolen both of you from me, and I don't like it. That's a really dick move. My 2 alien guys off on Hulk. I consider it a personal slight. But I see what's fun to do.
It was great to draw the Hulk because I think it is one of my favorite characters. And when I was a kid, I loved the TV show with Lou Ferrigno. So it was totally different from the comics, but I like what Philip doing on the series with a more horror mood. I loved the Ali Ewing series that was very, very horror with great art. But with the Philip Kennedy Johnson arc series stories, the horror vibes is much more than in the past. When Banner transform in the Hulk, his bone break. His bone is broke. The Hulk exit inside from the mouth of Banner is very, very disgusting and creepy. And it was strange because it was used to I am Hulk, and the transformation was from a panel to another. But here we had a man that totally fall in pieces with the broken bones, skin that is ripped out, and a monster that erupts from the body of Banner. Is creepy, but is great. And Nick Klein, the main series, in my opinion, is doing something that is amazing. I hate Nick Klein for these beautiful pages. For these beautiful pages,
or even his work on Thor was amazing.
I don't know him in person, but I hope to have the chance to meet him to a convention and grab his hands and say to it, I hate you because your pages are amazing. I envy you a lot.
Yeah, no, I did covers for my first cover gig at Marvel was for Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And all I knew was that Jason Latour was writing it. There was no artist at the time. And then Nick Klein was brought on afterwards. I'm like, oh God, I'm drawing covers to a book where both the writer and the artist are better artists than me, you know. No, Nick's stuff is amazing. He's Thor's like he's weird. I think you can put him on anything and it's going to look incredible. You wouldn't think the guy drawing incredible Thor pages would be doing incredible Hulk pages. You know, they're two very different aesthetics, and they're incredible. Like, I mean, I haven't read that book yet, to be honest. I have a hard time with Nick's stuff because it's so good. It's hard to look at sometimes because it's very
I feel
demoralizing, you know. But like between him and like and Danny and you, like that's some list of talent to have on that book. So yeah, I need to catch up on that. But and I know you can't say what you're working on now, but is it different?
No.
Yeah, but is it? Can you say? Is it a mini series or?
It's a mini series of. Okay. I can't say the number of issues because I suppose that it is a bit of a spoiler. But I'm working on a mini series that it should be out this summer.
That's great.
And it wasn't announced yet, but no licensed products, so no Star Wars.
Oh, must be a nice change then. Yeah, it must be a nice change then.
It's
for not doing licensed.
Like I said, it's strange to jump back on superheroes after basically 2 years on Star Wars High Republic before. And on Aliens after Star Wars. So it's strange to jump back on the super explosive way to tell the superheroes with the splash, with elements that go out of the panel and go in the following panel. So it's not easy at all to come back to this kind of draw, but now I'm working on the second issue, and I took confidence with the character, and I hope that people will like what I'm doing, exactly like I'm loving what I'm doing, because I love these two characters, and they are two characters that I read when I was a kid, and mouth sealed because I'm worried to say spoilers.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. I don't want to get you in trouble. But man, look, that's great. Thanks for coming on, and it's like
thanks to you, Dec.
Oh man, my pleasure. Like I know we got to meet that one time in at Luca, and it was great just to like you work with somebody so closely for ages, and it's so funny how you can never even meet the person. But I always like having a face to face, but and it's nice to kind of go over the book again. Like I'm really, really proud of it. I was very
super proud for it too.
Yeah, like I was nervous and I was intimidated, but like you made it look like I knew what I was doing. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Dec, and thanks a lot to our readers, our audience that follow the live stream, and to our editors that permit to work on these awesome characters and titles.
Yeah. We're both pretty lucky, but I'll let you off. I know it's getting late where you are, so thanks for being a man. And sure, I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Absolutely yes. Have a good night, and ciao a tutti. Bye bye.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for all the questions as well. Appreciate it. But yeah, sure. I'll catch you next time. I have no idea who we'll be talking to next, but I'll figure it out in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, thanks for hopping on with us. Catch you. See you again. Good luck.